how can objects not be made of matter? Anybody who comes across Advaita Vedanta or non-duality often ponders on the fact that how can everything not be made of matter, right? It's all called as consciousness, right? It's all consciousness and everything is made out of consciousness. How can things be made out of consciousness and not matter? We've learned in science that everything is matter, right? Different elements. How can everything be made of consciousness? How can everything not be matter? And it's a pretty valid question, right? Since childhood, we've been taught in science that objects are made of matter, right? Different elements. We've studied the elemental table, elements like calcium, potassium, iron, gold, titanium. These are different elements, and that is what consists of the matter around us, right? Even trees and plants are all organic matter, which means they are made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, right? So how can things be not made of matter but consciousness? That seems counterintuitive and also, to a point, unbelievable, right? To truly understand this, we have to first understand what consciousness really is. Consciousness, or pure consciousness in Advaita Vedanta, is known as the ground of reality, right? It is both the ground of reality and the observer of everything, right? The true experiencer and the truth of the experience. Both are consciousness, and they are one and the same thing, pure consciousness, right? Let's understand how consciousness works. So the pure consciousness observes the world through different minds, right? When pure consciousness flows through the mind and witnesses whatever it can, that is known as experience. And how does it flow? After flowing through the mind, it flows through the senses. Through the senses, we observe things, right? So let's take a simple sense like the eyes, the sense of vision. Through the eyes, we observe the world around us, right? And the world appears to us in the form of different colors and shapes and objects. A seamless scenery appears in front of us, but we see distinct forms and shapes and colors in it, right? And that is how we label them, right? We label a tree as a tree, the mountain as a mountain, a dog as a dog. And we do that because we see separation, we see distinctions in these forms, right? Similarly, when consciousness flows through the mind and then through the sense of touch, which is our skin, our body, right? We can feel the rigidity of things. We can touch water and see the wateriness of water and the solidity, the rigidity of the trunk of a tree or the softness of a sheep's fur, all distinct from each other, right? Now, these distinctions, whether we see it or we feel it through our skin or we hear different sounds, all of these distinctions appear distinct to us because of our senses, right? Because of our senses. But if you don't consider the distinctions, is there a separation at all? It is only because our mind thinks of the labels that we've given to objects, like the tree is called a tree. The moment we see that distinct shape of a tree, we identify it as a tree, right? The label is already in our heads. That is why we recognize things. And when we see something that we do not recognize, we immediately put a label on it, or we describe it using how we see it as, right? The distinct color, the unique shape, that is just how we describe the objects in front of us. And even matter, to that extent, the elemental matter is a distinction observed by our senses, right? For example, if you see a ring made out of gold, right? That gold ring appears of a specific color and rigidity to you. But that appearance, does it happen because it is gold? Or do you call it gold because it appears a specific way to you? You call it gold because it appears that way to you. We often think that we are labeling stuff because of what they are, but in truth, it is the other way around. We label stuff because of how they appear to us, right? Even elements and compounds are not truly there. They appear a specific way to us, which is why they've been labeled by us as distinct elements and compounds. It is a system that we've created to give reasoning to the separation that appears to us, to bring some order to the way in which appearance appears to us. So what we call as matter, the distinct elements like gold, silver, titanium, these are not really the nature of reality. This is just how reality appears to our senses, to our five senses. If you think about it, how is an element described in your book of science? You will only notice descriptions of appearances, right? Color, shape, rigidity, texture, smell. These are the descriptions given by science of what we observe about reality. This is just a classifying method by humans to bring some order to the way in which reality appears to us. So in that way, things are not really made of matter. They just appear to be distinct materials to us. They're not really matter. In fact, there are no separate things. The separation is just because of the distinctions that appear to us. There are no separate things in existence. It is just because these distinctions appear to us, to our eyes, to our nose, to our ears, to our sense of touch as distinct. That is why we label them as different things, as different objects. And then when we study these further, we try to bring some order to the way in which they appear by labeling them as elements, as compounds. This is our way of understanding the appearance, but this is not the reality of what is. So in that sense, things or distinctions are really made of consciousness, right? They're not actually made of consciousness in a material sense, but they just appear to the consciousness. They're not actually there. Something is there, but that something has no qualities at all, and it is totally undivided, one unified whole. The scenery that appears to us of distinct shapes and forms is just an appearance. Behind it all is actual reality, which has no separations, no forms, no distinctions, and is the ultimate backdrop of reality. That backdrop of reality has no qualities at all, no shape, no color, nothing. All the colors and distinct shapes and qualities and properties, they just appear to us. And when I say they appear to us, I mean they appear to the witness consciousness. They appear to the mind in that way. And the mind just labels them. It has to bring some order to the chaos that is appearing to it. It labels it so that the next time it sees it, it can qualify it as useful or not useful, to communicate it to others and to remember things. It labels them. So those labels and those distinctions should not be considered as reality. They shouldn't be considered the reality of things. The things as well as matter are just appearances that appear to consciousness. And that is how things are really made of consciousness. They're not made of consciousness in a material sense, but they are just appearances, right? Made of consciousness. And it's really hard to get it or to make sense of it or to really be able to accept it as the truth, because there is nothing gratifying about it. There's nothing that satisfies us about this. But that is how the truth is. It has no qualities at all. It has nothing in it that will gratify you or make you excited about it. It just has no qualities at all. It flows through your mind and becomes the witness consciousness, and it also appears to us as distinct forms and shapes. But in truth, there is no distinctions in it. It is one unified, not separated reality. Reality with no separations in it. It is the ultimate seer and the ultimate backdrop. So that is how pure consciousness is both the backdrop and the real seer of things. It is both the witness and the appearance. That is how things are not made of matter, right? Because there are no things at all. They are just appearances. And whatever they are made of is also an appearance. No matter how good you are at classifying them, at labeling them, at bringing an order and a hierarchy to them, they are still appearances. And they are really made of consciousness. They appear in consciousness and they appear to consciousness. I hope that makes sense and brings you clarity.